You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back, everyone. Good to have you here today on our second house call of the weekend. I know not everyone listens to these on the Saturdays and Sundays when they debut, but I appreciate your listens whenever you do decide to catch back up on these weekend Cabral house calls where we're answering our community's questions that come in from literally all around the world. 7 days a week, we get thousands of questions that come in each and every year, and I do my best to answer them in the order they come in every Saturday and Sunday. So we get to about 20 questions or so per weekend, somewhere between 16 and 20. And what I do is I try to give people the absolute best place to get started. So this is based on my experience in private practice, our virtual practice where we see people all around the world. We literally send labs to right now 19 different countries. And that will expand, I'm sure, in the future as well. But it is all over Europe. It's the United States. It's Canada. It is New Zealand. It's Australia. It's the UK. And there's some other countries in there as well, which I have to try to remember the whole list as well. But we've got a lot. And so you can obviously, if you're wondering, do you ship labs to my country? You can simply email support@equilibriumnutrition.com and they'll be able to help you. Or, of course, you can drop a lab, a protocol, my book, anything that interests you into your cart at equilibriumnutrition.com and just see if it obviously ships to your country. But, of course, all the information is free. It's always free, 7 days a week at the Cabral Concept. The only thing that I ask, it's a small ask, but it's totally up to you, is if the information is helpful, I would love for you to leave a review on iTunes. It will take you less than 1 minute. You can even do it while you're listening to the show. Simply go to iTunes or whatever player you're listening on and just leave a review. I would greatly appreciate that. I literally read every single one of the reviews that are there, and it gives me a lot of energy. It keeps me fired up to be able to continue to do the show each and every day. And we've been doing it now for over 1,000 episodes. Today is episode 1080. So excited to get right in the questions. So without further ado, let's get started. The first question is from Dayna. It's Dayna. I believe we'll pronounce that Dayna, right? Let's see. I just want to confirm today is episode 180. It is. So if you want to read all of these questions yourself and follow along, and see any of the show notes and links, you can simply go to stephencabral.com/podcasts for all of my previous podcasts, or go to stephencabral.com/1080 for today's show. Dana's question is, hello, I'm having my amalgam fillings removed in 2 weeks, and I was wondering if you had any advice on how to prepare my body for the procedure. Thank you. All right, Dayna, absolutely willing to help, happy to help. Just keep in mind, this question came in on November 1st, 2018. Again, these are evergreen questions. They're going to apply in 2030, as they do right now in 2019. So just keep in mind, though, these questions will not be answered for 10 to 12 weeks as they come in. That timeline might come down in the future if less people are asking questions, or it may go up if we have more and more questions coming in. So they're just answered in the way that they come in, and I can only get to so many questions every single week. Obviously, with the podcast and the interviews I do and the practices that I run and all of those fun things. But you can ask these questions right at cabralsupportgroup.com. And every single day, our health coaching team is able to answer questions for you free of charge there. So we do our best. Those are usually answered within 48 hours. We get so many questions there every day as well, but it's our mission. It's our job to really push natural health forward. So I'm having my amalgam fillings removed in 2 weeks. Well, let's just give this to everybody. So the first thing you want to do is, regardless of what you should do, you need to make sure that you are having a dentist that's certified on safely removing mercury amalgams. That just means your silver fillings. If you look in your mouth, and if you look up to the saline, and if there's any in the top and there's any in the bottom that are silver colored, those are going to contain most likely some type of mercury. Regardless, they're going to contain a lot of metals. You do not want those metals in your body. Now, for the most part, they stay trapped in there. However, after decades, or even, we'll say 10 years or so, the edges start to lift a little bit on those mercury amalgams. Some people call them silver fillings. Well, they're not really all silver. And what happens is, as you begin to chew those just tiny little microscopic pieces of mercury and metal, well, they begin to get right into your bloodstream because your mouth and the capillaries there go directly right into the blood. So we certainly don't want that. And then when you have them removed, believe it or not, what the dentist is going to do, even if they're certified, for the most part, they're cutting that in half because they have to get it out of your mouth. They can't just pop it out. It doesn't work like that. They have to drill it out, they have to cut it out. So what you need is to make sure you are working with a dentist that has the proper vacuum to suck that right out of the mouth, that they're using the rubber dam, all of that they have the masks. So in the rain barrel effect, I showed you myself getting my last 2 mercury amalgams taken out. And just make sure that your dentist locally is certified through the IAOMT. Okay, so it's IAOMT. I'm not going to try to figure out what exactly it stands for right now, but this is an organization that I'm obviously behind. My holistic dentist. Really, I did a lot of talking with her, a lot of research with her, and the International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology is where you want your dentist certified through if you're going to have those amalgams taken out. So that's what I would do, and we work with holistic dentists all the time. Here's what we do. Really simple, really straightforward. Here's what we want. We are going to use our heavy metal detox starting about 1 week to 2 weeks, even before the procedure is done. Okay, so we're starting the heavy metal detox because you know that you're going to get some metal in your body. No matter how hard you try, there's going to be some. And then what we're doing is right when the amalgams are taken out, we're going to do an infrared sauna that day and hopefully for a week after. You could even do it for more if you'd like. As many days as possible. That's it. Infrared sauna. And you can do it for anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes, up to 40 minutes if you'd like, as long as the heat's not too hot. And then we are doing our Dr. Bile detox at the same time. And we're doing that for 7, 14, or 21 days concurrently with the heavy metal detox. So what are we doing? Well, we're naturally chelating, naturally grabbing onto the mercury and other metals that after you had the procedure done. We're using the infrared sauna to sweat them out as best we can. And we're using the Dr. Bile detox to open up the liver pathways to remove these at an even faster rate. So it works really well. There are many more things you could do, but that's the absolute simplest way to do it. I mean, you can use liposomal glutathione, but really you're going to get at least 80-90% of all the benefit of even doing just the microscopic based things. You're going to get the majority of that. And this is exactly what we do to keep things manageable for people. So it's not a full-time job. So heavy metal detox, then the Dr. Bile detox, the day of, or definitely the day after you do your amalgams with the infrared sauna. Okay, that was a long answer. I have to get moving to make them a little faster so that I get more questions. Daniel's up next. I'm 25. I've been listening to your podcast ever since I heard you on Mind Pump, and I'm very intrigued with what you have to talk about. For the last few months, I've had a really dry nose, which is tender to touch. I usually wake up with hard, he wrote, boogers that are greenish, yellowish, and I will usually have them throughout the day. I want to see what your thoughts were and if you had any remedies for this. I also have symptoms of brain fog, and sometimes my thoughts turn dark and I feel like I don't have control over them. This frightens me, but I don't have good enough insurance to get it checked out, and I don't want to be put on medications if there are alternatives. I did encounter a very serious concussion a year ago. I played football and lacrosse growing up, so I've dealt with them. So I'm not sure if this is a role as well. I look forward to hearing back from you. Okay, so let me give you my take on this. Anytime you have green or yellowish-based mucus, a lot of times there is bacteria or there is yeast or there's something that secretory IgA, which is the immune cells in the mucus, as well as other immune-based cells, is fighting, killing, and that is now coming out as green or yellowish-based mucus. So what I would say first is we have a really great ear, nose, and throat-based protocol which will allow you to use the Nutribiotic nasal spray. It will allow you to use the Nutribiotic throat spray, and it allows you to use a neti pot with 1 or 2 drops of the grapefruit seed extract. It should be the maximum GSE, or we prefer the citricidal, which is sold to practitioners and doctors, and that's at equilibriumnutrition.com. So I would absolutely be cleansing and cleaning out whatever is up there. And then afterwards, I would be using a little bit of what's called Nasya oil, and that's Nasya. And you would use that afterwards, not only as an antimicrobial, antibacterial, antifungal, but it will add more moisture to your nasal passages safely. And then this will actually hopefully allow you to not overproduce mucus because of the dryness in your nose. Remember, if you dry your skin too much, your skin may rebound by producing more sebum or oil, which could cause acne. So we don't want to over dry the skin. We don't want to over dry the nasal passages. The other thing is if you have very dry nasal passages, you're actually more susceptible for viruses or bacteria to get up into those nasal passages because what you've done is you've not allowed that mucus, which contains the natural antibodies, to defend against those things as well. So that's the first place to start. Usually when we have, a lot of the brain fog and we have a lot of the nasal-based issues, we may also have gut issues at the same time. So Daniel, if there's one lab you could run, I would run the organic acids test. If you're only able to do one, that's the one I would start with, especially if you have any type of bloating or digestive-based issues. Hopefully that's helpful. And then, of course, if you're able to run a hair tissue mineral analysis called the starter kit, that may give us a little bit of insight into why the lower mood and, again, the big five in general, those labs, whenever it's a mystery case, we try to run those. But, of course, I understand not everyone may be able to run them. All right, Michaela is up next. Hello there. I've been suffering from bile reflux since March. I have a lengthy history, and I'm pretty sure I know what got me into this mess. So I'm unsure of what's going to get me out of it. I am in insufferable amount of pain and discomfort daily, unable to eat most foods. My GI doctors have been absolutely no help to me. They want me to remove my gallbladder. They said there's even a 50-50 chance my pain will resolve. So I remove an organ and hope for the best with a coin flip. I need help, insight, anything. My stomach and esophagus have been severely damaged. It's total mystery to every doctor I've been to. Please help. Okay, well, we're happy to help with this. And in my opinion, you can always figure out digestive issues because from a clinical perspective, just meaning like clinical practice where I see people every single day from all around the world, is we know exactly how the digestive system works. Now, we don't know everything about the microbiome, that's for sure. We don't know everything about the microflora down there. That is absolutely for sure. But we know the physiology. We know how your food gets broken down. We know what your liver releases. We know what's stored in your gallbladder. We know something called the lower esophageal sphincter, which is the muscle that hopefully doesn't allow anything to come back up the esophagus, but we know sometimes that goes wrong. And we also know the gastric valve, which is what allows the food from the stomach to then empty into the small intestine. So we know how this works. So when someone has bile reflux, that means they're basically usually accompanying some type of stomach acid as well up into the esophagus. So here's what happens. Essentially, there's this digestive fluid, bile, that's manufactured and essentially being dropped from the liver. Now, it can be housed in the gallbladder, and sometimes it becomes a little bit more hard, or we can get some gallstones. But what happens is we can typically and usually soften those or remove those. We know malic acid is very helpful. We know having more of a plant-based diet is very helpful. We know I did a podcast on this before called The Amazing Liver and Gallbladder Cleanse. I gave you a cheat sheet on that show for the ancient Ayurvedic liver-based cleanse that Andrea Moritz made very popular with his aptly named book, The Amazing Liver and Gallbladder Cleanse. So we take people through that. That could certainly be an option for you if you felt that was appropriate for you. Again, I can't treat, diagnose, or cure disease over a podcast, nor do I claim to make any such claims. So here's what we need to do. What is going on with the liver? What's going on with the digestive system? And what I do is this. Even if you never run a food sensitivity test, I would love to see an organic acids test. I would love to see a stool-based test. And then I'd want to know more about the stress. And we could certainly talk about that, if you run those labs through Equilibrium Nutrition, because I give you my recommendations, then you speak with one of my health coaches, and they'll make recommendations based on the protocol that I gave them to give you, but also based on speaking with you on that call. So it's not a mystery. If you run all the labs, or you run as many labs as you can, and you begin our elimination diet, and without a doubt going to be doing something like a functional medicine detox, well, that's going to allow you to address a lot of these root cause-based issues. Because remember, it can only be so many things. We're going to soften the bile. We'll do an amazing liver gallbladder cleanse. We'll do a Dr. Walt detox. We'll do an elimination diet like I talked about before. We'll do things to soften the bile. We will begin to remove the H. pylori because you might have H. pylori. I'm not sure if you ever stool tested for that. If there's candida overgrowth or SIBO, we'll fix that as well. If there's slow bowel motility, we'll make sure that we're able to speed that up, whether it's stress-based or whether it is actually just weakened motility. And so we'll use things such as ginger, and we'll use other things to speed up that metabolic rate within the intestines, because a lot of people think about metabolism as only in weight loss, but metabolism actually happens with every cell in the body. It happens with digestion. It happens with bowel motility. So, Michaela, it's basically a long answer with not an exact plan for you because, there's about 8 lines of text right here. And that is not enough for me to go on, except that when I have some lab numbers in front of me and then I have a person's story, then I can say, sure, here's where we're going to do it. And we're going to get great results over the first 4 to 6 weeks. And then we'll make adjustments with your health coach after that point. We'll get even greater results after that. We'll make more adjustments if we need to. That's how life works. I mean, please don't expect your doctor or your health practitioner to give you the amazing plan that fixes everything within the first 3 weeks. If you're a mystery-based case, there's going to be a little bit of back and forth. So don't get discouraged when you didn't hit it out of the park within your first couple weeks, because the data that you're giving to your doctor after those first 3 or 4 weeks is allowing your doctor or integrative health practitioner to make adjustments with your protocol, which will then get you even better results. But you have to keep the data and you have to give your doctor or practitioner feedback. And then with that feedback, they'll say, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. You seem to be having an issue with X. And say, okay, now we're going to do this. We're going to make this adjustment. But you would never know to make that adjustment if you had never tried in the first place, which is why we need to lab test based on that, based on symptoms. Do this. Okay. How's that working? Okay. Everything seems good except this. Okay. We'll make adjustments for that. Oh, that didn't work. Well, here's why that most likely didn't work. Now let's do this. Okay. That works. Great. So that is how the real world works. We're not used to seeing this because we're used to seeing pharmaceuticals just magically mask high cholesterol, magically mask high blood pressure. But what are they doing? Well, they're just masking them. They're not actually fixing anything. In the real world, to get really well, you need to go after the underlying root cause imbalances, and we don't mask them, which means it's not as simple as giving a pharmaceutical. So, Michaela, there's no doubt you'll find your answer. No doubt about it. We just need to do a little bit of work. All right. Tanisha is up next, and she's writing, hello, I just started listening to Steven's podcast as I was wondering if you could help me find out which podcast he talks about breakfast smoothies are important for your health. He stated it in the $9.99 podcast that his whole staff drinks smoothies every morning, and I just wanted to learn the science behind it. Thank you in advance, Tanisha. So Tanisha, yeah, absolutely. Go to stevencabral.com/podcasts. And on that specific page, there's a search bar. So what we're going to want to do is add in a keyword in that search bar that we think would be unique to that show title. Something like breakfast, right? So if we add in the word breakfast, I just found that there's 16 different matches. So we're just going to work through the matches, and some of them are house calls. So it's not going to be a house call, right? So what we do is we work on the ones that would be like a Total Wellness Tuesday, or we will work on a weight loss and wellness Wednesday. That's it. So now you narrow it down. It's not just a house call question, but it's an entire topic. And I'll just look through these along with you right now, and we'll see if we can find that specific show. And if not, of course, you can ask that question at cabralsupportgroup.com. And if you ever can't find it, well, my team will find it for you. So, we're always happy to do that. And I would like you to be able to use that resource to your advantage. Okay, just scrolling through, it is episode 761 called The Fat and Toxic Flushing Breakfast Recipe. There it is. And then, the other thing too is you can just download on any podcast page. Let's just say it's today, 1080. There'll be, if you scroll down past the questions and links, there'll be a little image that says free smoothie guide for wellness and or weight loss. And you can just simply use that as well to see all the recipes that we use in my practice, but also that I use myself. I drink a smoothie every day. Sometimes I have 2. Yeah, there is without a doubt, you're going to be able to make it work for you, whether your goal is overall wellness, whether your goal is weight gain, or whether your goal is weight loss. The goal is to have an easy to digest meal with lots of antioxidants, fiber, protein, etc. All right, next question is from Rhiannon It's RIANNAN. How do I join your Facebook group so I can interact? I'm only seeing how to follow, but I thought I've heard a group mentioned on your podcast. Thanks. Yeah, so my Facebook is Dr. Stephen Cabral, DrStephenCabral. So it's Dr. Stephen Cabral on Facebook, but our group where we answer all questions, I don't answer direct messages. I honestly don't even look at them because there are only so many hours in a day. I wish I could. It's just like there's literally only so many hours in the day. And I'm happy to work 10 hours per day, but I balance that with my family. I balance that with my own exercise, my own walking. And so there's only so many hours in the day. How do you join? Cabral, my last name, Cabral, supportgroup.com. And that forwards you to our Facebook group. And then whether you're on mobile or whether you're on your laptop or desktop or iPad or whatever other device, there's going to be a little box that says join or request to join because Facebook changes their verbiage. And that's all you do. And then within the next 24 hours to 48 hours, someone will say, you're in. Like you'll be able to join. And that's because our team obviously just has to go through all the hundreds of people that request. And then you get to ask any questions that you have. And my team is happy to answer those for you. And, I employ a team that just is there to answer your questions. It's one of the things that I always wanted to do. And I just know that I've obviously run out of hours in the day. So my goal is, of course, to say, how can I scale this so that we can work with millions of people, not even hundreds of people? How can we work with millions of people? I can't work with millions of people, but I can train, which I'm calling the next generation of health coaches. And that's integrativehealthpractitioner.org. So if you're interested in just learning how to heal yourself, to heal family members, to start a health career and become a health coach, or you're already a health coach or practitioner and you want to learn how we practice, it's all available at integrativehealthpractitioner.org. We open once a month only for 100 new students and members. It's an amazing community. Honestly, I could talk about this for the next half hour, how amazing the people are in there. Friendships are developing, people from all over the world communicating right in our private Facebook group. Truly, truly amazing. And I'm going to be doing events too that are integrative health practitioner only events where I invite practitioners, whether it be to Boston or I go to Europe or I go to Australia, and we're going to do some amazing events together. That's it. That's the future, because our community is growing so large, almost 1 million downloads a month, the podcast. And I'm sure that will be, I'm hoping that will be even greater in the future, that we're really reaching so many people that my team and I, we can't do it all, nor do we claim to, but what we can do is we can train hundreds and then thousands of other integrative health practitioners so they have the same exact information. And they also have the same exact protocols that I use in order to help you achieve all of your wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging goals. So really excited about that. You know what? I think that's a good place to end it for today, just because I like the note that we left on right there. And remember, each and every weekend, I'm going to be answering more of our community's questions. So we'll keep it at that for today. Enjoy, obviously, everyone writing in, and excited to be able to try to provide this service each and every weekend for many years to come. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate your listens. I appreciate your reviews on iTunes, and for you simply sharing the show with anyone you believe it could serve. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stephencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stephen Cabral. And that's Stephen with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.